You're listening to the Poco a Poco podcast, sponsored by Spirit Juice Studios.
Poco a poco vamos a llegar. Somos peregrinos and you know that's who we are. We make our way. Hey, hey.
Hi, friend.
Little by little we learn a little more.
Hi, Father Mark Mary. Hey, everybody. Why are you guys talking like this?
This is, I got this. So first of all, Father Mark Mary, this is,
I'm Father Innocent. Father Angel's here, and this is the Poco Poco podcast.
and we're the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal.
Yes, we are.
I had redemption. I had a chance to get back on the Blessed is She podcast, the one that I messed up.
Tell me how that went. I mean, that was
episodes,
like
way better. It was in person. It was great.
I still can't believe you messed something up. How'd you
That's
mess
what I
up
still
the first
can't
time?
get over.
Beth, our friend Beth, I'm sorry.
Beth and Jenna.
Beth and Jenna, I'm sorry this had to happen.
Therese and
I
Cassie.
think I'm gonna be able to meet them at some point.
Kelsey. I call her Cassie.
Hey, bro, thanks
Sorry,
for admitting
Kelsey.
your weakness to us on the air.
But also, anyway, there's some gifts. Kelsey made some gifts. Do you know what a GIF is? GIF, GIF.
Oh yeah.
Because, okay, check this out. Because here's the thing. I know how this thing works, right? When you start something, you want to have something funny. And so we were doing something on St. Francis. And so I heard one of the girls, Trez, who they always do like a funny dance thing. And I did a little funny dance thing for the beginning of their video. And they made it a GIF, like that little short little thing.
Yeah.
Sent it out on their like thousands and thousands and thousands of people mailing list. And I got these messages from people like, I didn't expect to see this morning. Like all these people seeing me do a random dance. Thanks, friends.
You got something in you right now? What are you thinking?
You guys, anybody?
Get a little. Oh my God.
Well,
anyway,
but they start their podcast very sweet. Hi, hey Beth. Hey Jenna. And when we were on it, we had a little like.
Hi, Father Mark Mary. I don't listen to our podcasts. I don't really know how it starts out.
It starts out like, hey, I'm Father Mark Mary. Hey, I'm
I'm
Father Innocent. Hey, I'm Father Angel.
I maybe have
Is
listened
there
to
like
like
a
an episode. No.
Yes,
Yeah,
Come Follow Me by Brother Isaiah.
Anyway, speaking of Spirit Juice, we like them. Thank you for helping us.
I felt bad, and we had a little break, and I thought about saying thanks for nothing, Rob. But in fact, this whole thing is all a gift from Rob. I was like, wait a second. That's a little bit short-sighted to say thanks for nothing, Rob. Thanks for everything, Rob.
And we know that's from a story from Father Angelus. I got a letter from a listener at the end. She's writing to me and she's like, hey, Father Angelus, thanks for nothing. That's pretty much my role on this podcast. Awesome. I was like, she's listening. She's attentive.
Hey, Father Angelus, I'm going to turn on this baseball pitching machine. Go stand
over there. Can I just thank Vicky? I recently gave a virtual talk, which I'm not generally a big fan of, but COVID times, you have to give virtual talks. And she had emailed me concerned about my background. So we were emailing back and forth. And I was like, why don't we just, what's it called? Like, Zoom, FaceTime.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever, Zoom. So she could help me. And so she was really good. Made me look halfway. Vicky, we love you. Thanks
like
very
literal,
helpful.
like your background.
Yeah, so she helped me. Yeah, she helped me. And I'm just grateful. So thank you, Vicky. I know you do a lot for this too.
Did she make you use any plants?
No, there was no plants. Just some nice lighting, some nice across. So
I think we're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I feel like we got some good momentum.
So this is best Lent content ever.
Lent will be over before we know it. So this is the time to not wait until next week. See how things go.
So
and if you're experiencing some discouragement, I just want to invite our visitors, maybe, I don't know, listeners, to begin again. Like, don't be afraid. If like you look back over the past couple of weeks and you might be a little discouraged. Hey, we're with you and we're in this together. And we just want to invite you to begin again with us. And it just is a good point to do that.
What do you guys think about this? Can I chill back here?
Chill, bro. You're the boss. I don't know how.
I mean, this is nice. I'm kind of comfortable. Quick things that you guys want to know. So we're talking about a lot of the postulants, or this class of postulants, going through it a little bit of the last class. If you want to get to know them a little bit more, I did these quick little fun interviews on our Instagram, CFR_Franciscans. And if you look at the postulants highlight, you can see who we're talking about.
People really enjoyed those and talked about them for a while. So they're up, but they're fun.
Check those out, CFR_Franciscans. And then on our website, franciscanfriars.com/poco. Again, we're going to have photos from the desert to help you see a little bit more what we're talking about.
And Mike took those, one of our postulants, and he's really talented, and it was just really good for him. So really beautiful pictures.
Postulant Mike, he's got 2 photos. He's got 2 pictures up there.
Postulant Mike.
We got a Jeff Bruno. We got couple Martin Jernbergs, one
All of our
Jamie
people.
Aurelian.
All of our people.
There's no pictures of Father Angelus up there.
In that little coffee table book too? Unbelievable.
How many? How many?
One. It's really not all about me.
It's not all about you.
I'm happy to have other people
Yeah.
take the pictures.
It's the right struggle, Father Angelus.
But get the coffee table book. It's nice.
Yeah, work of God. Oh, I'm supposed to be talking about this other book. I wrote a book.
The book you wrote, and
Habits
that's
for Holiness.
super exciting.
Dang.
And we're going to cover that too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. We're gonna be rocking.
We're going to be rocking that. But you can order it now.
Ascensionpress.com/holiness.
Come
Habits
on.
for Holiness. Dude, I messed up the last couple episodes. Whatever. I mean, that is what we're going to be working through.
Yeah, we're going to, after Lent, we're diving in.
It's the handbook for holiness, people. What? Hey, I'm in the desert. Is there any consolation in the desert, Father?
So here's the thing, Father Mark Mary, and this is kind of how we prepare, but I set the bar pretty high when we prepare,
Yeah.
and it's all authentic you can only prepare so much, and you just got to dive into the desert.
Yeah.
You got to dive into Lent to experience just what it means to have this real life, right? So, but here's the thing: I say this to the Pashtuns, there's no comforts in the desert, and if you look at it in everything we're doing, from the period of time we go to the intensity of the weather, to the difficult to pray, right? The personalities and weakness start rubbing up against each other. You don't get to pick what you eat. You don't sleep that. You sleep on the ground, the hard ground. You're tired. Like all these challenges start to add up, and there's really no comforts. And again, that's exactly where we want to be, and that's the point, right? I invite guys in, so I prepare them like, guys, there's no comforts in the desert, and this is where the Lord's going to work, and this is where we're going to grow. Right?
One note is, I think you guys go in a season when like nobody else goes, right? Because it's too cold for people.
Yeah, and you think the desert's like, oh, it's nice and hot. Actually, it's at 65 during the day, so it's fine. But when you go in the winter, the nights get cold. Like we're talking like 0 degrees. We're talking about freezing weather, right?
Mhm.
So for a good part of the day, right? So, and again, for me, that's exactly where we want to be.
Yeah.
Like it's difficult, and it aids in this, the extremes of the desert. It aids in, it's dangerous. It keeps you on your toes, right? Like you get into camp at night, you're exhausted after a long day, and you're interiorly frustrated, and you get to camp. It's dark, it's cold, you're hungry, and you got to stay in it for 2 hours, like cooking food off a little stove, cooking the same food over 3 weeks that you don't really like. Who's going to cook? Is my brother going to sit out again that he did last night and not do anything? Or like, it's real. The human stuff is real.
Yeah.
So people are very much aware of that.
So I'm going to contextualize it real quick, because I kind of forgot that if you're just jumping in or it's been a minute since you listened, is okay. So what are you talking about? Or what are you talking about? There's only one or there's no consolation, or what is the consolation?
No comfort,
in the desert?
yeah.
No comfort in the desert. Is that we're talking about this, the journey, this Lenten journey, the desert journey, which is Lenten. It can be your whole life, but of growing in identity and intimacy.
Yep.
Right. Identity and intimacy. Last week we talked about valuing the struggle. Like that's where it happens, right?
Yep.
Like in learning to stay in it and discerning the right struggle and staying in the right struggle, coming out of hiding, persevering. Things like now it's like, okay, this is why a loving father takes his son in there.
Yep.
A loving father takes his son so that he can grow in intimacy, so that he can grow in identity.
Yep.
And now we're talking a little bit about like, okay, you're in the desert.
There's no comforts in what emerges from this place. Because when we are faced with our weakness and struggle, does the Lord leave us there? Like, it's like, okay, this is it. We just have to grind it out. And then we come home and like, okay, well, let's talk about this. So here's the beautiful thing. You're very aware that there's no comforts in the desert, but when you get there and you start experiencing your weakness, here's where this intimacy and this relationship become alive. It's from our weakness. And again, a little story, like you're just experiencing all these things we're talking about day in and day out. And you start to realize that you can't do it alone. You start to realize that if I stay so focused and I continue just to do my own thing, like it's miserable. Right. And so you have this, again, this is happening, this breakthrough's happening in two ways, spiritually and humanly, but the Lord begins to sharpen what's most important. All the physical sufferings start to purify you, and you begin to experience what's most important. And one of the Pashtuns said it best: after a long week of backpacking and intensity, and we survived like a midnight. There was like a windstorm, and like all of our tents are blowing down. We had to get up and get all the stuff and set up new tents, and it's like intense. Like guys are like, "What is happening?" One of the guys wouldn't wake up; he was like in dead sleep. James, so you had to. So like we just survived like a long night, and so we're processing this. And he's like, "Father Innocent," this is Mike, by the way. Mike said, "Father Innocent, you said there's no comforts in the desert, but what I've come to realize that my brothers are my comfort." And he just like threw this out there, like, bro, that's what begins to emerge. A new relationship, like new relationships, a new way of encountering God and my brothers. And so the only comfort in the desert, the only comfort in Lent is relationship with God and relationship with my brothers. And that like kind of shocked people back to reality, because they're like, he's right. Like how miserable I am by myself. If I had to do this all by myself, like, here's the thing. I can't save myself. I can't repel myself down this cliff. I can't, you're so radically like dependent. But if I realize that in freedom, I realize that is the gift. You start experiencing relationship in a new way. And that's what I want to say as kind of like the starting place for our going deeper today, is that the only consolation in the desert, the only consolation is Lent, is relationship.
And I think that you kind of talked about, you experience relationship different, and it's like relationships are not accessory, right? And I think that's like some of that for our life, but also for the Christian life in general. Like you come to the Franciscan friars, the renewal, and like the brotherhood is not an accessory. It's not like one, like the side element of what we do, of living together and doing it together. It's essential.
Yep. And
that's true. That's just true of the Christian life. Is my brother, my sister, having people walking with me. It's not, being in a relationship with others and with the Lord is not an accessory.
Yep.
But it's essential.
Yep.
And it's a source of consolation.
Yep. And that's where the consolation comes from. And I do feel like on our first episode, we did talk a lot about that place of prayer. And so I think that's pretty clear. And I use the example of like our brothers being a consolation, right? Because the thing is that once we push through that, then life, you can find joy in struggle, right? Because like, I can't tell you how many times we were like in it and it was hard. And we'll tell some stories about like where the brotherhood like came alive in struggle. But it's just like, whoa, there's joy here. We're laughing. We're like, it is like 0 degrees out. We can't feel our hands and we're laughing about this. Like there's joy in the struggle if you can realize that, wow, like I can receive my brother. I can rejoice in our suffering. Okay, we're tired. We're hungry. We might be annoyed, but whatever. Like we're in it together. And when that clicks, something happened. There was a different liberation and a freedom.
Yeah, and all the stuff's taken away. All the distractions taken away. All the noise is taken away. All the stuff that you can turn to instead of your brothers, or you can turn to instead of the Lord, is taken away.
Yep.
And I think obviously that can be a scary moment, and we can, especially in the world, you can put off that moment for a long time, and you can run from that moment. You can distract yourself from that moment. But Lent is a built-in grace to not run anymore, a built-in grace to not have another option, not have another choice. Those guys couldn't leave the desert for that amount of time. And it's beautiful because if we give the Lord, if we turn in, if we lean in, like we talked about last episode, if we lean into that, then we can be blessed by it. But I think, we want to call out the fear. We want to call out the distraction. We want to call out the medication that we can take from the world that just distracts us from this real, unique, beautiful opportunity to let this consolation be consoling, be encouraging, and allow us to give us the breakthrough that God wants to give us, this like moment of grace. But we can run from that and we can hide from that. And I think that's the invitation to all of us, but the invitation to our listeners, like what invitation is the Lord giving you to enter into this space rather than continue to kind of move away from it or be distracted by it?
Amen.
what the Lord guarantees you in the desert is a presence. And that's kind of a, I don't want to be abstract, but like, that's what it's like after a hard day and you're around the campfire together, like you don't have to say much, but you're like, man, I'm in it. Like, and we know a lot of beautiful married couples that like, it's not often like after a hard day that like, oh, what you say, but it's like, okay, well, like we're together in this. Like I feel seen and I feel loved. Yeah. So what he guarantees us is his own presence, which we've talked a lot about. And what he guarantees us is the presence of good and I want to say holy brothers that remind us who we are and help us stay in the fight. Mm-hmm. And that's what, once that clicks, there's an incredible, I already said it, but there's an incredible liberation and joy.
Yeah. And that's with the journey from Egypt again to the promised land. These are like, I'm going to go before you by cloud, by fire. Like there's a presence always there. Yep. There's a presence always there. All right.
Story. So we're back to it. So here's the thing, brothers, like there's concrete, there's a couple stories that really kind of illustrate that when everything's pulled away, what's most important can emerge. And this is what God does. He pulls stuff away, the struggle purifies, and something happens where we are able to see what's most important, and we are able to experience what's most important. First and foremost, God does this with himself. He pulls stuff away. He purifies us to help him know that he's present, right? And he's actually caring for us in the details, the small things. And this usually happens through the people who love us in our lives. God is trying to constantly show us that he's there, that he loves us, and that we're not alone. And so there are a couple stories in the desert that are probably some of the most intense. They happen different years. If both of these happened in like a period of a week, moms would shoot me for like the intensity of this. But okay, so I'm going to jump back in with that God brings us to this place to when he purifies us, he peels stuff back to help us encounter what's most important and to experience what's most important in our lives. And he's going to do this in relationships. He's going to reveal his love in the people around us and the gift of this bond that happens. And this happened. I want to share two stories from both years that I've been in the desert with the guys. And they're both going to highlight similar things. But the first year we went to the desert, we were canyoneering, and there's a couple things that happened. And Father Mark, Mary, Father Angelos, what's your name? You guys can elicit stuff, you know this story, but I'm going to tell the kind of the heart of it. But here's what happened. We were canyoneering, and we were in this slot canyon that was actually pretty intense. We were in this place we probably shouldn't have been. It was a long stretch of canyon that was pretty, you could probably say for kind of more expert level. Mm-hmm. And we found ourselves in this place, but we were, the slot canyon is like really skinny, and you're not even, you're like kind of, what do we say? Scooch? Scoot. You're kind of scooting through, but again, it's like it's really hard, right? And to keep your weight up with your backpack as you're scooching through, not to fall, but you're using your body weight, pushing up against the canyon walls. And so, but we ended up getting stuck in this really difficult section, and it's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of yards long.
And you didn't really intend to be there.
We didn't intend to be there.
It was advanced.
Yes, it was pretty advanced, but we found ourselves there. The guys, the postulants reading the map, didn't really communicate that well. And it just kind of what happened. And again, there's no one to blame. We just found ourselves in this place. Well, what ended up happening is that we were kind of stuck. And the more we tried to like keep going through this difficult place, but it realized that we were stuck, we were exhausted. You kind of start to, and we started at 9:30 in the morning and hiked to this place, and suddenly the hours are passing, so it's going to get dark, where you're kind of running out of water, and you're running out of energy, and you're really discouraged because you're kind of stuck in this place, right? So the focus that I want to kind of zoom in on here is the reality that we're just, this is like a big deal now, right? Because it's getting dark, and like how are we going to get out of here? Like and so God's is like totally stripping us. I have one brother next to me who has a torn labrum. He really can't use his right arm. You have another one 5 or 6 down from me. You're all in a line, right? You can't move because of how skinny the canyon is. Yeah, 5 or 6 down from me, one of the brothers starts having a nervous breakdown, right? He thinks he's going to fall. And so he, like emotionally, he like kind of freaks out, right? Again, we lost one of our guides and some of the other postulants who...
I wouldn't say lost.
No, lost. Sorry. Guys at the beginning of the line got away from us and they started going quicker. And the idea is that they didn't really pay attention to the guy behind them, which is a thing in Canyoneering. You coach the guy behind you, where to put your hands, where to put your feet, and you help each other out. This is kind of the team brotherhood part of this, is that we're in it together. I just got over this little cliff or this little hump or this water pool, and I'm gonna help you do the same thing. Well, we had a breakdown at the beginning. And so a couple of our postulant brothers were again, there was no intention in this, but there was a separation. They kind of went quicker and found themselves way ahead of everybody. And so now they were separated, and the second half of the group, which was the majority of the people, didn't know what to do. It was not, we were stuck, right? So Carl and 2 guys, they were up front really far, and we were stuck. We didn't know what to do, and we were just kept inching along, but it was getting pretty desperate. We didn't know what to do. So how does God use this? Like in this moment of struggle, like what happens? What do you do? Again, I'm in the middle. I'm like, all right, Lord, this is it. Like we're skinned up. We're bleeding. Like our elbows and our legs are bleeding from like scratching ourselves along this canyon wall. It's getting dark, and guys are struggling. We're suffering. How are we gonna get out of this? So here's the thing. The guy who was having the nervous breakdown, like he couldn't go on, and he kind of had this mental block. Like, I'm afraid of falling, and I'm getting weak, and I'm tired, and I can't go on. And the guys on either side of him, one guy was kind of the encourager, and one guy, in being super scared and not knowing what to do, he said a prayer, and he was inspired to take the dangerous kind of like slow kind of descent down into the canyon little by little, where he could stand on something solid. And he did that with a fear of falling and getting hurt. He little by little, he kind of scooted down to this place, and he let the brother stand on his shoulders. And so this guy who's having this mental struggle and thinks he's going to fall and kind of frozen, you have a brother who takes a risk. He's like, he could fall and he could do the same thing, but he scoots down all the way to this solid kind of canyon floor, which is about probably 10 feet down. And the postulant who's having this mental struggles literally stands on his shoulders to rest.
But you have to have that whole conversation.
Oh, like, well, how he was afraid to stand on his shoulders.
Yeah, I think
it's part of it. So this guy makes this courageous step to go down there, and now the brother who's struggling and literally going to either break down or fall says, "There's no, I'm not stepping on your shoulders. You're going to get hurt, and we could both fall. I can't do it. I'm not going to do that to you." And the funny thing is, the brother's like already down there. He's like, the brother's like, "Hey, listen, man, I'm not a little girl. Stand on my shoulders." I did this for you. Stand on my shoulders. Put your weight. And this guy was probably 200 plus pounds. Put your weight on my shoulder, or stand on my shoulders. And the guy finally did it, and he humbled himself, and he stood on his shoulders for about 20, 25 minutes and rested, and like was able to stretch out. And the other brothers on his left kind of encouraging him, walking him, coaching him through this mental struggle. And the fact that they do this together, and there's this fraternal breakthrough. I'm not alone. My brothers care for me. God is providing a space for me to be cared for. And this bond that these 3 guys, and the whole crew for that matter, these 3 guys were bonded because it was life and death, which I'm all about. Sorry, moms. But like, it's serious. And these young men have to dig deep and respond to what's in front of them, and not be afraid, and own it, and step out. And they did it. And so this happens. This young man rests, and we're able to get through. Thank God, Carl. Hours later, as we kind of scoot through this in the dark, we're able to be roped out, and which is pretty intense, because we got to get out of this. And when we rope out, here's the thing. We're all kind of like licking our wounds at the top, And Carl and Zach were like, okay, guys, we have like a 2-mile hike left. And we'll talk about that, the perseverance episode. But the idea is we're all in it together. And one of the brothers who got down and he let the brother stand on his shoulder, came up to me and he had tears in his eyes. And he's like, Father, that was like really scary. And he started to say, God bless him. He started to say, he's like, I didn't know what to do. And you weren't available. This is genius in the desert. This is what God does. The shepherd here, the father doesn't, like, God takes me out of it. So they have to do it for each other. And he was like, you weren't there. And I felt like just pressure and I didn't know what to do. And I just don't think this is fair. And like, that could have been really bad. People could have got hurt there. And so again, the fatherly part of me is like, okay, bro, this is it. This is the moment. And interiorly, this is the moment. So how we respond from this is gonna define your experience. So I asked him, hey, why don't you just tell me like what happened interiorly when you were struggling down there? Like, tell me what happened. He's like, well, like I was scared and we were together. So I was trying to talk these brothers through this and being together. Like we were in it together. And I said a prayer and I just knew what I had to do. Like all right, like I have to take this risk. I like scoot down and I stood and I didn't know how I was going to get back up, but I was like, okay, like brother, stand on my shoulders. And I just kept saying that, stand on my shoulders. I'm here. Like, and then it all happened. And then he rested and kind of got out of the mental funk and we were able to persevere through. As he's talking, he has this breakthrough. He's like, but I did it. Like I like saved my brother. And you could tell that this overwhelming experience, he's like, yeah, you didn't do it for me. Like I wasn't afraid. I didn't give up, but something happened. Like we took care of each other down there and I was a part of that. Right. And so at this point I had the look on my face. He's like, you're loving every minute. You're loving every minute of it. I'm like, hey bro, like this is it. Everything was taken away. You were panicking and you had it in you. And what sharpened for you was the fact we have to care for each other. My brothers are here. We can do this. And this is what happened. This is how God used this, is that the brothers saved each other's lives. Everything else is taken away. And it's serious. What happens? The brothers pull through for each other. And so this bonded them, this bonded the whole team, because we end up getting out and it's a shocking experience. It shocks us back to life. And that is the one moment, this canyon night was the moment we talk about that really bonded us. We suffered through it and there was a new way of seeing that we did it together. We took care of each other. And for the brothers who kind of left the group up in front, they had this realization what happened. And the next morning, around the campfire, they realized that their decisions to lose the group had an effect on people, right? So they kind of were this kind of self-focused, kind of this, like, I want to adventure and I'm going to do my own thing. Well, it had an effect on everybody else and it hurt guys. But they repented. They're like, guys, like we were so focused and we made decisions and that wasn't really for caring for the brothers. And we didn't realize, and we asked forgiveness for like not being concerned to focus on our brothers. You had guys who had this experience and the guys who allowed the struggle to teach them what's most important. And it was actually being together and really, this is how God saved us. It was together. It was as brothers.
In total, how long were you guys in that canyon?
So probably from 11 to 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And then we had to hike back right after we had to do another rappel for 50 feet after that, to get out of this little get out of the canyon. So we started at 9:30 in the morning and we got back to camp at 11 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm. And how long are you in the canyon if you stay together and you just kind of work it? Well,
this is like a focus activity. And if we stay together and we work it and it all goes according to plan, this is it's a half day thing. Right. Mm-hmm. But because of decisions to break away and human weakness, right? Where we're faced with a lot of stuff down there and guys having a mental breakdown and just faced with our weakness. Like we had a decision to make, right?
Mhm.
And God used it all,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah, I love in particular. There's the brother who's doing the canyoneering, who's scooching through, and he has like, so it's basically this like, would you say it was in a logical breakdown, or was it like his nervous?
he was panicking
Yeah, he was panicking
because he thought he was going to fall and he was exhausted. So he's like, I can't do this anymore. And I think I'm going to fall.
And that's kind of the thing with canyoneering. It's a mental.
It's a mental thing.
Yeah. But then, right, that's the whole thing is like another brother, someone comes to help him and proposes to him the answer, like, hey, just stand on my shoulders. And he says no at first. He doesn't receive the help. And goodness gracious, how 21st century people struggle with that.
Yeah. And he's like, no, I can't do this. I'm going to crush you. I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah. And that, I think, I know that like as a priest, when people like, oh, no, Father, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want, I don't like, I'm sorry for crying. I'm sorry for that. Like, no. This is
it.
Let me receive you. Let me support you. Let me love you in this moment. Like, do like, hey, my entire sort of our entire like life context is like the guy who's like crawled down, took the risk, crawled down, is like, hey, just stand on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Like that's like in a lot of ways, that's like our vocation is like, just stand on my shoulders, right? Hey, just let me, hey, I came down here. I'm ready.
This is,
I'm the little girl, stand on my shoulders.
like, this is going to work. This is going to work for you.
Yeah.
Like, please trust me. I've been down here before.
Yeah.
Like,
my feet are on sure ground, stand on my shoulders. And I just see that with the Lord too. It's like, no, stop trying to do it by yourself. Stop. Trust me. Be vulnerable with me. Come to me. Be honest with me. Like, I got you.
receive this as a consolation.
Yeah.
Relationships become the consolation. It becomes the strength.
Yeah, if you keep doing it on your own, like there's
You're gonna fall.
Yeah, or you're just gonna the anxiety you experience. Like, I think that's for me a big lesson. You guys something from it?
No, I was just encouraged too, because I think you guys, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You get a lot of the mail. I'm consoled to the reality that like this will sit well with a lot of people, because I think a lot of the people that write in more than one person. Like they'll sign it 3 buddies together or groups together, and it's like people have this opportunity. They have the people in their lives already. The mechanism is already there that physically or practically I'm not alone.
Yeah,
but we can be isolated together. Kind of like COVID has done that. Like we're isolated, but we're in this together. The point is that like, it's really wonderful that the gift of going into the desert and recognizing the gift of the desert, the gift of my weakness and my suffering is this realization that Jesus is here with me, but he also he loves me through my friends and through other people. This is awesome. Yeah. Because that's most of the people, they have people in their lives. So now it's just kind of recognizing that. Yeah. I'm in my stuff, but look around. People loving me, people looking at me, people being with me.
I can stand on their shoulders. They're encouraging me with their words, right? Like this is a real thing. And it saves your life. Yeah. It saves your life.
So this is not how our postulancy was when we entered in 2009, 11 years ago, old man. 2013. I remember though, like when I look back at this struggle of like letting brothers care for me, what's funny is my memory is one of the brothers who was like my turn to like set the table, without talking to me, he like started helping set the table. And I was like, it's my job. You think I can't set the table? You know what I mean? Like that was like this movement, like letting somebody help me with that. I was like, because I was so used to this life of like, I'm going to do this on my own. And like I'm insulted by your offer to help. Yeah. Because you think I'm weak. You can't think I can't do it. Fine, I'm gonna do it.
Receive the consolation. Bro. Yeah. Receive it.
And that's funny that now in comparison, like my thing, looking back at postulancy, was setting the table. These guys' thing is like being in a canyon for 8 hours.
Don't die.
A little different.
It is, brothers. And just because I think it's I know we start to have fun here and these things kind of go longer, but the stories are real. And the Lord does this in the desert, and the next story that we can kind of just, it doesn't have to take a super long time, but this year particularly was really beautiful and moving because we had a canoe flip, right? And it's the middle of winter and we're on the water, and if you flip a canoe, there's some serious danger for hypothermia. Yeah. Right. And so this is the moment that shocked us back to life, that realized that our brothers were super vulnerable. And to the point of like, this is serious. We were using the sat phone to call in Dr. Zimmer, and he was incredible, and the guides were incredible, like walking us through this. There's a mechanism to call safety as we need. And we were taking guys' temperature consistently to not get below 93 degrees. Because if you get below 93 degrees, hypothermia is kind of setting in. And guys never got lower than 97. Thank God. Moms out there. It never happened. But your body's still freezing. You're still shaking. And you still can get there, right? There was a tough day. It was a cold day. A front was coming in. And the wave started to happen. Weight shifted. And so one of the canoes flipped. And so next thing you know, Gaetano and Brendan are in the water, right? And so this is serious. So and then James comes through, right? They're having another pretty mystical moment, like holding Gaetano's arm, like Jesus reaching out over the water, holding him, and like, I don't know how he did it. Like, how did he, and like row, like another brother's in the front, but like rowing and pulling Gaetano to the side. The guy's a beast. Like James is a beast. Like he's like saving Gaetano, gets him out of the water. I come up on the situation. Brendan's on the side, the other side of the lake. It's starting to snow at this point. He's on the other side of the lake, and he is like I think he's on his like hands and knees or like down. And I come up and I'm like, what happened? And he's like, Gaetano and I flipped. He's kind of like he's definitely coherent, and he's definitely like with me, but he can't really like put it together. Like what happened? He's shaking, right? He's just been in freezing water. So I get out of my canoe. Brother Colby takes Brendan over, and I'm stuck on the other side. This is what God does in the desert. God creates a space for things to be sharpened so our brothers can save us. So not the guy, the father, the one who really
not the one who's supposed to save them.
Yeah, not me. As I'm like all these tough situations, I'm helpless, and I immediately I'm like, God, you are so funny. There is like 50 yards of water, or like even longer, and I can't be there. Mm-hmm. But what I see when I look over, like, I move me to tears in the moment, because Mike and Zach and James, the guides. Zach and Jake and David. These are the only guys that are like on the scene, as the other guys are like upriver or downriver, as you think about it. But it's amazing, because like these guys go into this mode of like, bro, like we have to save these guys. And sorry if it's graphic, but like you have to strip all their clothes off of them. You have to get new clothes on them. You have to get them intense. You have to like, and here's the thing, like, body heat is the only way to go. So Brendan's in a tent, and he got all his clothes off, and he got new clothes on. Like, people are dressing him, right? Like, that's super vulnerable as he's shaking to death. Like, not to death, sorry, shaking uncontrollably. They get him clothed. They get him in this small tent, and Brother Colby and Mike go in the tent with him, and they have to embrace him. And body heat. And I'm seeing all this happen, and guys are like throwing clothes everywhere, trying to get Gaetano. Again, Gaetano's buried and stuff to get him warm. Someone's praying with them. Someone's getting hot water ready. Someone's like, they're just doing all these things. And I told the guys later on, I'm like, I had never been such a proud father at that moment, because you guys were absolutely rocking it. And this is like the impulse that we have, that the guys were laying down their lives. They weren't thinking about it. They weren't calculating. They were saving. God was using them to save their brothers. And I was teary-eyed. I'd never been so proud. I'm like, yeah, come on, bros. This is it. Like, this is it. Like, in the moments that our brothers need us, like, it becomes a new consolation. In our weakness, we see it happen, right? And the brothers ended up, recovering. And I ended up getting on the other side of the river, and we're just all in it together. And we really like survived something. These guys really survived some things, but I was so proud of these young men, because when Gaetano and Brendan needed them most to step up and to be with them and to love them and to really like save them, this is what happened. This was their impulse. Like, guys, this is it. Like, God gave you this situation. He started purifying and gave you this suffering, because he's getting at the heart of the matter. The only consolation in the desert, when I'm most vulnerable and most suffering, is my brothers. They're the ones who like push through this kind of like this really dark place. And I was like, I was such a proud father at that moment. I'm like, these are my boys. This is what it's all about.
The image that comes to mind is the pearl of great price that you find in the desert, or you find whatever in the field, and you sell everything to go and purchase that. Is like what a gift it is to know I have brothers. What a gift it is to know that I have people in my life who I can trust. And I think as people, maybe some of our listeners don't experience that. Because like from seeing like, oh yeah, you know what, like how deeply I desire that. But like the way in which they got there was a cost to receiving that pearl of great price, right? But you can never take it away. Like, I have brothers and I can trust my brothers. And for some of them, it was like, you know what, I have a capacity to care for another and to step up. And like, I've done it. I've done hard things, and I've stepped up in emergencies, and like you can never take that away.
And what it did really mattered for someone. Like, it drew this out of me. It draws the best stuff and it draws the best out in us. And the brothers did it. Yeah. Like, our listeners, like, first of all, God, we're telling stories about our own fraternal life and the gift of that, but God wants that for everyone. Like, he's going to break through in relationships. We said that over and over on that podcast. Like, this is God's desire for us, is to, in our suffering, to give us concrete faces and people who will be instruments of salvation, remind us who we are. And this is true. Like, this is what God wants. And we're called to be that for others. Like, to be a consolation when everything else is stripped away. Are we a consolation for the people in our lives? That's a big question.
And the moment of conversion is the moment where I'm invited to get over myself and get over my own stuff and my own self-focus and my own self-reliance. And the desert pulls us outside of ourselves. Lent pulls us outside of ourselves. It's not, we just don't have this like safe little place just where it's me and I just got to worry about me and I get to do my own thing and I'm in charge and it's all nice and safe. We need an opportunity to be called out. We need an opportunity to be pulled out, and the Lord allows these things to happen. And all these guys going to this work now are formed by this to say, now they're looking for opportunities to get outside of themselves. They know what they're capable of in grace and with the Lord working in their lives, to say, no, I don't need to make my life about me. I don't need to make moment by moment about me and my preferences and my wants and kind of getting caught in me. Look what happens when I give the Lord some space. Look what happens when I live this true identity where I can give my life away. That's what life is supposed to be like. These guys probably came to life in this bit of a crisis. And this gift of self.
This brings the best out of our masculinity and our femininity for people who, for young.
Why are you looking at me like that?
No, nothing. I'm just saying, I'm being sensitive to our listeners. No matter if you're man or woman, like this, we need something to bring the best out of us. And I just want to say this, we said this last time, I'm telling you intense stories, right? And this is why we go to the desert, because it's heightened and it's intentional and it's pretty compact. But those stories wouldn't mean anything if you get home from the desert and then suddenly we're not leaning into this challenge and to be consolation for our brothers. But these guys have tasted it and they're like, but even the small things now, I want to be there for my brother. I want to live in a new relationship. Right? So like, that means nothing in the desert if we can't do that, but you see it. So it's in the small things where we can say no to ourselves, not be afraid of the struggle, and realize that relationships can become alive in a new way.
I want to give my life away. That's the invitation in the Lord. I want to give my life away. The desert prepares me to know who I am so I can give my life away. That's what we talk about in vocation work. I know I'm loved by God. I've said this before, and I'm set free in him, and to give my life away. And these guys, in a very extreme way, gave their life away. And now they tasted it, and now they want more of it. That's what our call is. That's what the Christian call is. And that's what the ultimate reality of that is martyrdom. I will give my life for the other, because that's what Jesus did, obviously. But this is it. This is the end game. I'm called to give my life away. The more I experience it, the more fruitfulness there is, and I want to do it more.
And that's what Lent's all about. Like, that's what's going to make this Lent like no other, right? It's just a reality that instead of just giving up, like, oh, I give up this, I give up food, I give up. No, like, am I allowing the challenge and the purification to lead me to a place of giving myself away, of laying down my life?
Yeah, we'll have to wrap it up, but just in a second is because we have to get to Holy Hour.
That's true.
I'm
I'm
doing
looking.
benediction with Zach.
You rock it, bro.
Final cause, right? Final cause is like what's the end? Like, what are you doing? And so this is like our Lent stuff. Like it's at the service of like what we're doing in Lent, and our Lenten practices are at the service of giving my life away. And they're at the service of relationship, and they're at the service of intimacy, and they're at the service of identity, and they're at the service of community. Like this is like when you're making decisions, like this is the aim, this is the focus, this is the vision, this is the journey. Yeah, I was gonna, what were we, giving your life away? Oh, this is the thing, right? Like husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church, which is laying your life down, right? Like this is these different things that we're doing in this Lent, like that's what we're at the service of. This is laying down your life so that others may live. And just a super short example, like right before the podcast was like, okay, this brother can't cook tonight. I need somebody else to plug in, right? And that means you're going to have 2 hours of less sort of free time or whatever it is, and you're going to need to cook, and you weren't planning on it. And seeing the brothers be like, okay, I can do that. I'm willing to do that. Like the desert and this type of stuff of caring for one another, of being like being in it together. It's like, okay, you know what? This is how I'm going to lay my life down right now. This is my little white martyrdom right now. It's like, I'm going to lay down these 2 hours of my life, and I'm going to cook because this is what the brothers need, right? Like, and this is the type of ways in which I think a lot of people in their day-to-day lives are being invited to lay their lives down. And this journey, this Lenten journey, is at the fruit of, hey, can you pick up somebody from the airport? Can you cook when somebody else needs? Can you be the person who takes out the trash again? That type of stuff. Like
that's not nothing.
That's not nothing, and
right.
that's not easy.
It's not easy. And I just want to shout out to all the married couples who do this way better than us, like, and who are moms and dads. Like, this is where it's at. Like you are incredible examples to us and witnesses of laying your life down constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And we feed off of this because we have to go to the desert to have these experiences. You are living it. The demand to lay down your life over and over for your children. This is what makes you holy.
Yeah.
This is what makes them holy. This is what makes the world holy,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not about you, but you're giving yourself.
Yeah. Husband, let your wife help you.
Yeah.
Wife, let your husband help you. Son, daughter, let your parents help you. You know, parents, let your children help you. Like, and I think this is, yeah, it's real.
And the fruit of that sacrifice is intimacy.
Intimacy.
And the fruit of that, when I give my life for the other, I enter in
Yeah.
communion with them. And that's the consolation.
Yeah.
Is that I grow in intimacy with the other
Yeah.
when I give my life and when I get over myself.
Let's pray. Cool. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, we thank you for caring for us. We thank you for going low and saying, hey, just stand on my shoulders. We thank you for your salvation. We thank you for giving us brothers. We thank you for giving us family. We thank you for giving us community. May you give us the grace to be more receptive, more vulnerable to the love that others want to give us. For those of us who walk without the community we desire, may you send that community to us. May you give us the freedom from our identity and intimacy with you to lay down our lives at the service of those you've put into our paths, especially through the small daily deaths and sacrifices. We make this prayer in the name of Jesus the Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Zoe and Alec and Clay. Zoe and Alec just got married. I give the homily at their wedding, and their little baby, they had a baby boy named Clay. And when this is being recorded, I should have just baptized him.
Awesome. Denver people.
Poco. What do we need to say? Habits for Holiness, ascensionpress.com/holiness. We're going to be working on that.
Get it.
Thanks, Spirit Juice. All right. Poco.
God bless everybody.
Poco a poco vamos a llegar. Somos peregrinos, and you know that's who we are. We make our way. Hey, hey. Little by little we learn a little more each day that God is love.